How are you?
Good, how are you?
I like
Yeah, it hurts.
Yeah, they were where to sit down. Sit. Yeah.
I get home at night and lay down. He's just like, bad guys going on. He was last night at work. Drink sometime. I didn't drink when I was here.
No.
So I was out at 3 o'clock last night and ordered on
Yeah, there's just kids at 10 o'clock.
Do you guys want to sit in the back of the table and do your work? Do you want to sit with me then? Here, let us sit here. You come with me. Hi, how are you? Do you want to sit? You can sit in one of these at the back desk, or you can sit at the table. What would you rather do? Thank you for the first day text. I'm that person. Just me and Selecta? Okay. Yes. Yeah.
And just be careful of the camera,
Yeah.
please.
Why don't you go over here? Yeah. And don't talk, because that will pick you up. And they'll hear everything that you say. Or at least
I like it.
yeah. Or just don't talk. That's what I say, Mrs. Terry. Just don't talk. But I'm not the mother, so I don't have to do that. And I am. I am the mean one. It's all good. Sit down behind Tammy. I know
And I didn't eat any of the chocolate. No, I did actually. Good.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the September meeting of the Elgin Central School Board of Education. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Krebs, before Mr. Krebs changes the presentation, I'm not going to do this because I took 134 pictures of our students at Mackenzie for the past 2 days. Only children I didn't capture were 4th grade because they just started their special and I was free today, so I will have them for you next week. But I thought that I would have them playing for a few minutes before each board meeting, different pictures of different activities and kids in the building.
Very nice.
Our Mackenzie
Good.
family.
Very nice. Our first, we're going to just flip the two presentations. We're going to start with a presentation from Mr. Binkowski.
I'm going to, before I start this really quick, just pass my phone around so the board can see the progress that's been made down at the gym. In case you haven't had a chance to stop downstairs, we had a bit of a hold up with the delivery of the Penn State floor. Each pallet weighs 4,500 pounds, and it broke the forklift down in Philly when they were trying to load it up. So we had a delay of about 3 days where we just couldn't do any work. We were just waiting. But I rented a forklift from CRC Rentals down in Milford. It was an 8,000 pound capacity forklift, so it was like a military vehicle. It was parked out here for a couple of days. And Rick Dillis and his team got all that stuff unloaded. There's still a couple pallets left to go through out here. It's a pretty tedious process to get that floor separated so that we can reuse it. We have to cut every staple, pull the plywood off of it, recut the staples and grind them down into the wood, then hand lay each piece. And those that need more cuts, a tongue or a groove, go to a separate station for that. So it's pretty tedious. When we have an assembly line going, it flies. It's a lot of work and it's been hot. And so I can't say enough how thankful I am for everyone who's come out to help us. There are people who gave up their Labor Day weekends, including Doug and Brian. Debbie Jennings and her family has been out multiple times. Jim's been there every day, I think. So I can't say enough for how thankful I am. I post it every day on Facebook, but it doesn't quite do it justice to the sacrifice people are making to help us make it happen. So if you want to pass it, there you go. And if you go on Facebook, on the Booster Club page, we're trying to post updates as much as I can when I don't fall asleep, so I pass out in the evening. And thanks for flipping the presentation so I get to do this. I've got to go home and pass out again. It's just a lot of work, and that's not what I do for a living, so it's not easy. So what I wanted to do was present to the board a proposal similar to last month. With your approval, we've started the process of getting a program together so that we can sell advertising in that program for every home game. That program will include all of our teams for basketball, modified JV varsity, all the players, their height, their position, and then there'll be a team photo included. And we're also going to include the schedule for the season in there. Mary Millette had a great idea, which was to include our opponents' schedules on a page as well, if it's possible, which now increases the value of the pamphlets that we're going to hand out, because those parents will take it back when they come visit our gym, because now they'll have their kids' schedules for the whole year as well. So we're working on incorporating that. One of the things I've spoken with many businesses about the advertising, and they've asked what else they could do. Can I make a donation to the Booster Club, etc. So this was an idea that came up regarding that, and how to reward those businesses. So you know, the Booster Club is a nonprofit, and again, I'm always going to be aggressively looking to fundraise so that we can keep providing opportunities for our kids. Any extra money that we get, I would like to put it back into the kids, and so I'm going to fundraise all year long as much as I can. One of the ideas we talked about was subsidizing or giving away free basketball shoes for kids who can't afford them, who want to play sport. We have parents who maybe can't afford to send their kids to an AAU team or to an out-of-state camp. The Booster Club can step in and help with that, so I'm going to continue to fundraise. And if we end up having too much money, then great, that's a good problem to have. So what I'm asking for is permission to reward contributors by putting banners up in the gym during this next basketball season. And you know, there are schools that do this. I know Port Jervis, we talked to them, they say they don't do it. I'm going to go take pictures of it, because I know I've seen advertisements on their fields. O'Neill's scoreboard has a Pepsi logo on it, and they got that scoreboard in exchange for having a vending machine in the school. So there's a precedent of having logos in gyms, whether it's something that's purchased, donated, or in kind. And again, over at Mackenzie, there's already banners that are up there. It's a great way for us to kind of live up to our mission of helping all the kids that we can learn the game. So what I'm asking for is permission from the board to hang these in the parent section of the gym just during the basketball season. They'd be vinyl banners that would be removable. They would not cause any damage to the walls. But it would be just a great way to show the support that the local businesses have given to the Booster Club, help make programs, including youth camp and all the other things that we do available. Again, maybe we're thinking 20 to 25 banners, 2 foot by 3 foot wide. As far as how that might look, I had my graphic designer mock it up. As you can see, it is just the name of the business. So if Pete's Country Store or Gibby McKean or Java Love up in Bethel or Jeff Bank were a sponsor, it would just be their logo. There would not be a phone number, no website address, no cell saying come to our business. It's just a way, and one thing that's not here is that I can have a banner made up that says thank you to these contributors for helping making this great program possible. The state has a law against advertising. This would be, but they do allow you, the school, to recognize companies and individuals who make contributions. And Mr. DeFore sent that language along to me. So we're trying to stay compliant with that while still fundraising at the same time. Or at least have a benefit for people doing it. So again, we'd like to have permission to recognize those companies that contribute with those banner spaces in the gym. And again, they'll just be temporarily during the season. So once the season starts in December, the first games start. And then come February, they take them down. So it'll be for a short period of time. So that's my answer.
Are they hung, Dave? It's adhesive?
Yeah, there's several ways we can do it. The banners we did last year for the seniors that were up along the back of the gym, we ordered them with grommets, and then we attached them to the existing structure using zip lines basically, so we can cut them and remove them. This would be done in a similar way, something temporary, whether it's an adhesive or two-sided tape or whatever it needs to be.
Is the banner going to represent a level of giving? So like you get a banner if you don't give enough kind of thing?
So I would like to do that so that if you did give more, we could do that, but I'm also trying to make it so we can get as many banners up there as possible to get more businesses
Is
interested.
that yes or no?
As it's pictured here, they'd be all the same size,
Regardless of how much money you gave?
yes. However, well, I could also just add text that says gold, silver, bronze level, platinum for different levels to acknowledge that, but again, I don't know if the amount is necessarily the board's.
Right, I'm not sure that we want to advertise
Yeah.
the amount.
Yep.
Or in any way indicate who gave more or less
Yep.
this year or next year.
Right.
Even by order of banners, you
Yep.
know, like, I have a little, I don't know how to voice it yet, but I have a little agita about this. It's not advertising. Our community is a very close community and we know these businesses and I get that. I just don't want in any way to offend people who don't give as much, or maybe people who give to other sports, or, I don't know, I'm saying this out loud,
Yep.
not knowing.
The other thing you need to know, and I've explained this to Dave, is Ruth and I have been checking on this for the past 2 weeks. And as it was presented, I sent the presentation to our attorney, and our attorney says we cannot do this.
Cannot.
The scoreboard with the Pepsi logo is specifically mentioned and allowed in the literature we've read. But a program, which we discussed last month, is permissible. This, according to what our attorney said and the information Ruth got from her association, is not permissible by the Controller's Office. That being said, the ultimate decision is up to you. But I'm required to report that to you.
The precedent that you described in Fort Jervis and other places is similar to this. They have banners like this.
The only school that I saw that had banners in the gym was in Goshen.
And that's O'Neill. And is O'Neill a public school or private school?
Sorry, O'Neill was the Pepsi scoreboard.
Okay.
Goshen is the different school.
Goshen High School.
The Gladiators, yeah. They had, when we played against them, I turned around and saw advertisements on
It's not the
Gladiators.
Catholic school in Goshen. No.
No, public school.
Well,
So there clearly are different interpretations of the law.
It would appear that way. We tried to verify with Goshen, we were not able to do that.
if you're going to put out a flyer, or what did you call it, a thing with all the names and
Program, yeah.
program, then couldn't they be recognized in there? Is that allowed?
Yes.
They could.
One thing I'd say, Carol, is that the floor project that's ongoing downstairs, one, is just fantastic in terms of the amount of time and energy that people all around the community are investing in it, but also And you can't really get an appreciation of this by just by looking at it, but it's an awful lot of money there. A significant amount of money was invested in it, and I think it's fantastic that we're able to be creative and do things like that with volunteers and people, generous people like Dave who are willing to help out. So I think we need to find any way that we can to cooperate with those people and to help them out. And if I understand the concern about the banner potentially being offensive to some people, but I think that the benefits are clearly to reimburse all of the money that's been invested in the region before. And the ideas of providing free basketball shoes and additional fundraising opportunities down the road. So I'm in favor of it, and if Goshen's doing it, then clearly it's legal.
Well,
They've not been able to go.
Listen, Goshen has a lawyer too, you know, I'm trying to say, there's
Well,
different interpretations of the law.
That's right, there might be different interpretations. I'm not comfortable that the lawyer has said that it's not legal because it is advertising. I would love to hip and hooray and cheer for them, specifically mention their names. I would love to support your program idea. I don't want to set past that
I
personally,
mean,
that's my opinion.
it certainly is appreciated, no doubt.
No less appreciated, that's what they do, just, to me, it seems like a slippery slope. So then the next thing is, there's $5 off coupons in the program for so-and-so's job cafe or whatever, you know, like, it's a slippery slope. We're not allowed to advertise, we're not allowed to advertise. Coke wants to give us a scoreboard, but we can say,
But then if you only sell Coke products.
oh, so we're not doing that either.
Well, that's not the issue at hand, but that comes under a section
Really
called
sell
pouring
Coke
rights,
products.
what's permitted, what's not permitted, machines displaying corporate logos that are illuminated, there's a whole, there's way too much than you'd ever want to read on these type of things, governed into the point of minutia.
You know, there was a point, maybe I'm showing my age, but there was a point at which there was a whole lot of advertising by Kellogg's and Planters and the food companies and on banners that, you know, in the middle had a what do you call it, problem that was challenging. You know, so the kids were supposed to, that was educational. But the whole border was, you know, Planters peanuts and buy these because they're good for you kind of thing. And we got away from all that. I mean, I'm not sure what years those were, but they were there in schools, and it was distracting and upsetting, and it felt like it was like some sort of invasion. Now, that's not this. But
I mean, those, you're talking about international corporations, and Dave's talking about local businesses.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I think it's a slippery slope. And once you can get your name up because you give to a school, a public school, then maybe.
I think we have to be mindful, though, that, you know, because of our difficulty in completing projects like this within our budget or by floating bonds, et cetera, we are now at the point where generous and energetic individuals in our community are making these things happen for our district.
Absolutely.
And so we need to find a way to make that feasible. For example, I came the other night to drop off some grinders for Dave, and Dave took the afternoon off. So I went up to the baseball field looking for Dave, and Ed Cash is up there totally redoing the dugouts and you know, putting weed killer in the infield, and Franz is up there working. So these guys are doing fantastic things through their own time, but it costs money.
And I think we should recognize them. I think we should. I just don't think this is the way to recognize them. That's personally.
I mean, if a lawyer says it, that's it.
I mean, you know, I was having Archie before I found that out, so I don't know. What do you think?
Are the businesses coming to you and saying you'd like a banner up? What are they asking?
So, in talking to them about the program, they asked if there are other opportunities and how else can I help. I haven't said, I'll put a banner up for you, give me some money. But I try to think of what else have I seen out there that, you know, and this is what I went to Bob with it and said, I've seen other schools do this, whatever, so.
How much for each banner are you going to ask the businesses for? The same from each business for a banner?
Well,
And what is that?
It would be, they would be asked to make a donation. The ask would be somewhere between over $1,000 to the banner.
And are these businesses willing to do that?
The ones that I've spoken with, yes. I've not spoken with every business that's listed up there, so that's okay.
How much
That's
is
an
that?
endorsement that they would do it. Sorry.
How much did that cost?
2 by 3 foot banners under $40.
Is there a distinction in that it's the Booster Club that's actually doing the fundraising and hanging the banners, but it's our property?
It's our property.
So that's what it is.
That's the issue there. They can do pretty much whatever's within their charter and their corporation papers, but it's our property it would be going on, and that's where this comes in.
So the McKenzie things are,
The
it's not our
McKenzie
property.
things is not our property, that's public property, that's the
I
township.
get that, yeah.
Is it advertising because it's not dedicated to a specific either piece of equipment or other?
The samples that Dave gave me in the slide I sent to our attorney, and their opinion is that it falls under advertising. Ruth got information from one of her contacts from another attorney. It reads the exact same way.
Is it technically a big public fund, when we allow advertising? And that is not legal.
But is there a way to acknowledge people that sponsor some piece of equipment? Like Jim Ford.
Publicly saying thank you.
Through the program though, right?
Explore sponsored by.
You could probably put a plaque on the wall at a dedication ceremony and do that.
And people who
List the
are-
donors.
Yes.
You could do a donor plaque. That, I think, would fall outside of this. I'll verify it, but I think it would fall outside of it. And then you can do different classes of donors. And you can take, I'm going to call them the construction plaques you'll see throughout this building. You can take a plaque like that, and you can do, your gold donors, your silver donors. I think that would be permissible. I'm not an attorney, but I'd certainly check it. But there's a difference between that, which is commemorative, and putting a banner for PEX up in the wall. And that's what the attorney was trying to explain, that there is a distinction. A commemorative, yeah, I don't think it would be.
Because I don't see it as advertising as much as being a sponsor for.
I think the question is what the definition is of advertising, if that, and I think there's obviously a different interpretation that Goshen's attorneys come to. And I think it would be helpful for our attorney to speak with other attorneys who've done this, including Goshen, and find out, why is Goshen doing this and not getting busted for it.
I love the plaque idea. The plaque idea is a heck of a lot easier than printing up, 25 banners and all that. It actually was very
And maybe
much
about the
easier.
same price.
And if we do a groundbreaking quote unquote or a ribbon cutting, those businesses could all be there, all called media, and they can get a double whammy out of it. We can get a press.
Right, the rest would be there to honor them too.
Yeah, there's actually a story coming out soon in the Record about what's going on right now. Because I want to make sure everyone is helping and putting in time, gets their picture in the paper.
Yeah.
And I know that some people don't do it for that reason, or no one does it really for that reason, but again, I can't express how grateful I am. So I show up by myself on Saturday morning, and by 9, 10 o'clock, we had 15 people on Sunday, and 20 people on Monday come out just to help out. It was amazing. People bringing food, it's just awesome.
So should we call for a vote?
So can we change it to the, to the plaque idea?
Non-advertising plaques.
Is that what you're suggesting, Dave, or would you prefer that we look into
If the plaque is something that can be approved now, then I'll go with it now and something else.
How soon do you have to have a decision, a firm decision?
Does that happen today?
It does not have to happen today.
No,
Okay.
I'm still out there for the program, trying to get that done too.
Okay, so,
It'd be more beneficial for me to say an ad in the program costs this, and if you go above that amount, I can put you on the plaque.
understood.
That'd be
The plaque would
easier.
be there forever, rather than taking it down.
Yeah.
Seasonal. I like that.
Why don't you, why don't we try to do some more research and put this on our old business agenda for next month, okay? And we'll give you, we'll give you a firm decision.
So we didn't vote or second yet, we didn't.
No,
Any motion
we
or
just,
second?
no, we didn't do anything, we just watched his presentation. So, is that,
Or
and
would you rather have a decision tonight? Because I think we can vote. I just feel that
I
way.
don't know if you can vote to be clarified.
Well, for the plaque or for the banners?
I'm giving you my opinion based on everything I've read, and I think my opinion is sound, and I'm not an attorney, Ron.
I just want to slow
Can we
it down.
Can we do a provisional vote that as long as it's cleared legally? that-
well, if you're okay with next month, I would prefer to do this without any provisions and just make it done. You know what I mean? Let's do some homework. I have I've been in this, I've been around these buildings, quite some time now. I have a couple connections in Goshen, so I could reach out to those folks and try to get some information.
Yeah, we asked the coach too, I was texting him like.
Yeah. How and why these things happen.
Yeah.
Okay? And then, we'll put you on our agenda for next, for October to clarify everything and go from there.
Sounds good.
Okay?
Thank you very much, I
And
appreciate it.
listen, we appreciate all you're doing. I certainly do.
And everyone, please thank you.
Yeah.
And you.
Every day.
We thank you.
I do every day.
Thank you. You can have a big cookie up there. I'm not up there. You can have a big picnic up there. Is that dumb?
They kind of eat while they're grinding nails.
I've also started talking with Dave about some other fundraising. We're going to be looking to sponsor a golf tournament to try to raise money, have a golf outing. So Carol's husband doesn't know it, but he's running it. But it was an idea that I told Dave that Bob and I had picked around, and we were talking with the pro up at Swan Lake, and we're going to try to set up something for the lake pool to benefit the boosters.
Put that in the minutes so I don't have to tell him.
I told him he won't return the tax.
Sorry, good size, I think you deserve it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you, Dave.
Thanks,
Dave. Appreciate it. Okay, next is our presentation from Mr. Krebs.
This goes hand in hand with my opening of school went very smoothly at the junior senior high school.
Right.
So we had a very good opening to school, and along these lines, Mr. Duford asked that I provided a overview of what has happened with our substance abuse prevention program that kind of has taken shape over the last year or so. And we had started a substance prevention task force last year. A lot of faculty, staff, outside individuals were involved and came up with a variety of ideas. And this kind of gives an overview of the things that we've done and the things that we're going to do and still have yet to do.
Got it?
Yeah. We've had Teen Intervene, which was a program through Catholic Charities that showed up to our school in the junior senior high school and provided an overview of the types of drugs and how we can go about preventing some of the things that are occurring within the junior senior high school. We had a variety of staff that took part in that. It was a full day training that took part, and that was also included last year. We had a presentation to our faculty and staff from Catholic Charities about recognizing drug and alcohol and ways to prevent. We have EPIC that you had signed in for beginning this year, and I believe we have an EPIC coordinator that's going to be on staff shortly. They're going to work with a number of folks at the elementary school and the kids and families that are coming up from there, and it's a tie-in to try to get families involved in the school and involved in their kids' education.
They'll be here at the October meeting to introduce themselves, the coordinator, and give an overview.
And we have 2 volunteers sitting in the audience tonight.
Also, along those lines, we had a program called the Botman Life Skills Program. It was coordinated similar to DARE, providing character education, drugs and alcohol, and we started that last year in grades 3 through 6. It will continue this year in grades 3 through 6, and we're also moving it up to the 7th and 8th grade. And also we have Narcan training, and we have Narcan on site.
Narcan stands for what?
I don't know.
I'm glad we're training in it then. That's good.
It's an opiate block.
Yes, it blocks.
Antidote, okay. And we have that on campus?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
We have it on campus. Both of our nurses have been trained. Our security staff has been trained. Many of our coaches have gone privately for training.
Excellent, okay, great.
Does anybody out there know what Narcan stands for?
It's a drug, it's the name of the drug.
Name of
Yeah.
the drug.
It's like an antidote.
Okay.
Yeah, for an overdose.
It's not like a fancy acronym or anything?
No. It's the actual name of the drug.
It says life skills, so.
We had a Breaking the Cycle presentation for grades 5 and 6. We have DARE in the grade 5. We have SAT at the junior senior high school. We have our 8th grade curriculum that addresses a number of the drugs and alcohol usages and prevention for that, and same with our 11th grade programs that are going on also.
Mrs. Keegan, are you the DARE officer?
I'm not.
No, but
It says Mrs. Keegan, that's why I just wondered. Grade 5.
Currently upcoming for this school year, we're going to have DARE in grade 5. The Botman Life Skills is 3 through 6. Also, we're incorporating it in 7th and 8th grade. It's going to be in our 7th and 8th grade health and our family and consumer science. So both those classes are going to touch on the skills from the Botman Life Skill program. We have a presentation upcoming called Too Good for Drugs. I believe that Mr. Gass.
That's actually part of the 11th grade curriculum now. It's a
Okay.
curriculum.
And along with that, the Too Good for Drugs, we also have the EPIC program that is in full implementation this year at the elementary school. And we'll have a site coordinator, and that's just before I indicated we'll have somebody come up and present on that at next month's board meeting. Mr. Binkowski is going to provide a presentation on responsible use of social media this year. We also have a there and back presentation by Ken Bartolo that's upcoming for our JV and varsity athletes. We have that scheduled for this year. We have a Stable Life tour with the drunk, drugged, and distracted driving simulators that is going to be coming in this year. We already have that scheduled. And we have target presentations that are going to come up throughout the year through Catholic Charities. So those are some of our upcoming, those are the things that we had in place over the last year. Some of them go back many years. DARE has been involved with us since I've been here, and probably long before that. And that's all we have right now. So I wanted to give, I think Mr. DeFore kind of separated out a lot of those categories from the last meeting that we had, our task force meeting. So it was really easy to put together, so at least you have an overview of some of the things that are occurring. So if somebody says, what's happening at Eldred with our drug and alcohol prevention programs, you have a good idea, and I think you have a copy of that also. Anybody have any questions?
Very good. The only thing on EPIC, I think, isn't there an upcoming event?
13th of October.
Oh, it's October, okay.
Yeah.
So, talk about the next meeting. Like the 8th.
Well, that will be the first, Tara from Epic will be here to present to you, and we reached out to the community to have
I thought there was something in September where we're inviting parents to join some kind of a panel.
Well, I was initially told September, and then I was told yesterday was October.
Okay, gotcha, so that's what I wanted.
That's
But
why-
they will be at the Mackenzie Open House,
Yes.
and they will be making a presentation and starting to introduce themselves.
Mr. Krebs, any of
Yes.
these programs talk about the origin, the impetus behind addiction, how people get into these?
Yes, I believe a couple of them, and also in our health classes. I don't see any students here, but that's typically what they address in 8th grade health and 11th grade health, of how you get involved in, how you become addicted, what other type of remedies there are, how do you seek help. So each one of those programs, the program that Catholic Charities came in with was excellent about how.
DARE also touches on that as well, correct?
Not to that extent. It's
But it
more
does
of a-
explain what addiction is.
Yeah, they've changed the program the last couple of years, so it's, where they used to put the beer goggles on and it would distort your vision,
Mhm.
that's no longer there. But the word addiction never really comes up. It's the bad part of alcohol, the bad part of drugs, and to stay away, and to teach the kids how to role play, how to stay away from it. I think, I could check the book if you'd like, because I have one of the workbooks at my.
If you would,
my
just let me know.
Sure.
I just think there's something different between staying away from it and wanting to stay away from it.
Right.
And some behaviors.
And I think that was that Ken Bartolo presentation that's going to come up that JJ had set in place, is going to address that for the athletes about why you should stay away from type of things. And I think he talks a little bit about personal experiences and how, it can ruin your life, it can do this, it can, there's more of that life type of
And
experiences.
all of them touch on peer pressure and making good choices at various age levels.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Krebs. We're, next on the agenda is our elementary principal report from Ms. Keegan.
Well, Mr. Krebs already talked about Epic. Our open house is next week, so we anticipate a good turnout for that. The opening of school has gone very, very smoothly. It's really wonderful to have the kids back, and it's a beautiful building, thanks to Mr. Venus, who's really doing a great job of painting. And I asked the kids if they liked the different colors, and they said yes. And several of the kids said it's a happy place, so it's good. That's really all I have for you tonight. If you have any questions?
How many kids are still crying?
No?
Wow. Not even any
No, I
preschoolers?
had a mother crying.
Yeah, there's always a.
They drop off the children.
Yeah.
And River's exhausted.
Good measure. Yeah, for River.
Okay, our secondary principal report, Mr. Krebs.
You can skip right over me. I just-
Skip right over.
I know opening the school, yeah, same
You're
format.
Okay, our business office report, Ms. Lewis.
So the opening of school, we started with our cafeteria changes and serving breakfast in the high school, and today they reported to me that there was actually a line as soon as the students got off the bus. And they are selling quite a bit of breakfast items during the first 3 periods, 4 periods of the day, so 3 periods. It will pick up as word gets out, and kids seem to really like it. I met with the auditors earlier with the audit committee, and our draft audit report is out, and they will be here to give a full board report in October. And if you would all take one of these and pass it around. I am,
Turn off information, or just pass it back?
I am disappointed to report to you that the tax warrant that was signed in August was calculated using an incorrect equalization rate for the town of Highland. Tax bills were mailed, and they're all wrong for every taxpayer in the district. Every taxpayer in the district. Because the equalization rate affects the apportionment of every municipality, which affects every taxpayer in the district. So I have been working furiously the last 2 days to correct it. It is corrected, and we have a new tax warrant that needs to be signed tonight. We will have new bills mailed next Wednesday. The due dates for payments will be adjusted accordingly. It will give people more time to pay their taxes. And I apologize for what's happening. The equalization rates are set by New York State real property tax, and I prepared the worksheet in July, and the equalization rate for Highland came out August 9th, and I did not receive an email that it had changed. So I'm not sure if it was to an old email address or what. I should have gotten an email, and I'm assured that I will get an email in the future because I have spoken to everyone to make sure that they have the correct contact information.
How do we get ahead?
Well, I will be doing the press release tomorrow. It will go in the Times Herald Record for Sunday because I think that's the paper that's read the most.
Yes, thank you.
It'll also go in the weeklies. I will post it in the library, the town halls, Jeff Bank.
Our website.
And our website, yes, and the tax collector's website. It will be up on as well.
You only need this back, right?
I need one copy, well, you have to vote on that during new business. I have a motion for that, for you to vote.
What kind of public response is this going to cause? Is everybody's tax is going up?
Yes, they will. The 3, Highland was overcharged, so their bills will be going down. And the other 3 municipalities, theirs will be going up. It's not a lot, but it's happening.
Do you know if all brothers?
Based on assessed values. So I can't, say that.
I'm trying to look for the difference in what we put out and what we will be putting out. Are these?
No, there's no difference on what you're looking at. That is correct. I got rid of
Correct.
all of
Just
the wrong
correct.
stuff because I didn't want to get confused.
Was it 94% versus 100% for
That is
Island?
correct. 94% last year was what the utilization rate was. That's what it was up until August 9th of this year, when they changed it to 100%. I know that some people have tried to pay at Jeff Bank. I stopped Jeff Bank
How many
collecting.
people already paid? Do you have an
37
idea?
people have paid. If they've paid and they overpaid, they are entitled to file a correction of error. If they paid and they underpaid, there is no recourse for us. And that is why I stopped collection. Because we cannot afford to lose money.
So for those individuals who paid and overpaid, they have to actually proactively take some kind of step to get their money back?
Yes, and they will.
So we'll reach out to them individually and let them know that?
I've been conversing with the Director of Real Property Taxes.
We'll have the tax
County,
collector reach out.
And yes, he will. Well,
So will the announcement going to be published? We'll just state that, or we'll talk about how it's credit for
I can put that in the announcement on how we get credit filed. That's only fair.
that. Absolutely. All right.
And that's more than enough.
I'm sorry, just one last question. You said that people will give ample time to pay their bills, so the 30-day free period and 60 days, that's exactly the same. So when the bills go out, people will get the usual time that they normally
That's
pay.
correct. The first pay period will end, they're supposed to go out on the 14th, so they have until October 14th to pay without penalty, and then they have until November 14th to pay with a 2% penalty. And the only difference is there was always 4 days in November that was a 3% penalty. That is no longer because they go right to the county as of the 15th.
And
With
the
the
dates in
3%.
the draft warrant are correct, right?
Yes.
So if you look at the bottom of the warrant,
Oh, these are the new dates.
These are the
yeah,
new
on
dates.
those are the new dates in the bottom of the
And
warrant.
that's a date that it goes to the county that we do not control.
That is correct, the county.
That I understood it. All right. Okay. Any other questions, Bruce?
Does that adjustment have to be cleared with any kind of county authority, or is that already cleared?
I've been on the phone with them all day.
So they'll
Or they're-
comply with these?
They called me, they found it. So they called me, and we've been working through this, and we worked through real property tax law, and so that we do it appropriately and correctly.
Okay. All right, our district report from Mr. DeFore.
Okay, just got a couple of items. The opening of school went well this year. Teachers were back for 2 conference days on August 31st and September 6th. I want to thank Carol, Amador, and Doug for joining us on August 31st to welcome our faculty and staff back. We welcome our students back in both buildings yesterday morning. It's nice to once again have the hallways of our buildings filled with the voices of children and young adults. It was getting a little too quiet around here. Unfortunately, over the summer, our security service provider experienced difficulties operationally, and we were forced to end our contract with them. We've signed a temporary agreement with Atlas Security Services to assure continuation of our security services. Both of our veteran security officers are currently working for the new provider. A new request for proposal will be issued and a contract awarded within the next couple of months. I'm going to leave number 3 for Mr. Siegel to report on later. Item 4, using our smart schools money, we are systematically replacing our old smart boards and replacing them with new flat panel displays. As projectors and boards wear out, they will be replaced by flat panel displays. Mackenzie is scheduled to be completely retrofitted during this coming school year, followed by the high school next year. The new flat panel displays are made by Sharp. Coincidentally, Sharp bought out the company that we were currently doing business with, so I guess we're still doing business with the same people. These changes will assure that all of our students and teachers have access to the latest in instructional technology. And at our high school in grades 9 through 12, every English, science, social studies, and foreign language teacher now have either a classroom set of laptops or Chromebooks assigned to them for use in their daily instruction. We are working with the math department, Ms. Zub is hiding in the back here somewhere, to identify what technology they need most for their instruction, and I'm also going to be working with Mrs. Oset, who I think is also here in the back, and the 7th and 8th grade team to review their technology needs this year as well. We assigned 20 iPads down to the elementary school in grades 1 and 2. They're going to be used as classroom centers by the 4 teachers. Each teacher has 5 iPads assigned to them. And that's all I have.
Any questions?
Have you heard of, instead of computers, some kind of a flash drive that gets information downloaded from the server so that it's continuously updated from the server?
Thin clients.
Is that a comment?
What are they called?
Is that,
Thin clients.
is that an
So,
option for schools?
so there's 2 ways to provide that sort of technology. You know, either you buy the typical PC that everybody has, where it's one system, or you basically have a terminal, and which is very cheap, but the back end that runs it, the server farm that runs it, is quite expensive. So it's it's not the normal server.
So you're talking about like a display that somehow
That only
connects
talks
to-
to a server that's in another location.
okay.
Yeah, rather than a localized PC that's just networked. So we experimented with something a couple years
Yeah,
ago.
but it was more for energy efficiency than computing efficiency, and we discontinued it because though it was energy efficient, it was not serving our needs. But yeah, that's a very simple version. We had 30 monitors running off of one tower. But I can't think of the technology, what it was. It wasn't thin client, but it's very similar to it.
Any other questions? Okay, I just have one thing then. I did attend the opening day festivities at Mackenzie, and in spite of my aggressive, how do you say this nicely? I didn't want to do it. In spite of my trying, like pandering to get someone else to speak to the, see, I've spoken to the staff. This is like 7 years now, and I only have one message, and these guys all know it. These guys all know it that I've been here. So you don't really want to hear from me anymore. So I tried to get some, and they were all like, oh no. So anyway, it's always a great thing. I think it's great that those of us that could attend that day, that morning, we basically are the basic community here. So I think it's a good thing for us to do. Don't like talking, just gonna say it out loud in that instance. But yeah, so it's a great thing. Our folks, our faculty and staff do a tremendous job, and I try to make sure they understand that I believe that anytime I see them. So thank you. We don't really have a treasurer report right now, so she's on our agenda.
You have a hard copy, I provided you with a hard copy.
Okay, all right.
But I don't need to speak.
Very good.
Is that all these claims on it?
Ms. Sub is extracurricular,
Yeah.
So why do we have like a ream paper here?
because that's the other side.
Those are the warrants, warrants.
That's the regular.
Okay,
The trees are crying right now. Trees are crying.
so that moves us to public comment limited to our consent agenda, which is 401 to 702. I read through it pretty carefully, and I didn't see anything that needs adjustment. Okay, so does anybody have any public comment, just limited to our consent agenda? And since this is early in the school year, let me just give you a little background. We, when when I first got on the school board, the only public comment was at the end of the meeting. So what happened was, folks would sit through an entire meeting and we would make a decision about something that you wanted to talk to us about. And so we felt like that was a very, very terrible thing to do. So if you have something to tell us about something that we're about to make a decision on, we'd appreciate knowing that now. That's basically the deal. And then after the, towards the end of the meeting, there's a public comment that's open, for everyone and anything, okay? Yes, sir.
I want to make a comment on the equalization rate. Should I do that at the end of the meeting, or should I do it now?
Well, we're going to have that as a motion under new business, so why don't you speak to that at this point?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Just can you identify yourself, sir?
Sure. I'm Jim Hanson. I'm a town councilman. The supervisor, I know he's been in touch with a lot of the board today.
Sure.
I just wanted to thank Ruth for taking care of things so well with getting this item correct. I hope you will take care of it today. But it's going to save a lot of problems if you guys send the letters out. We've been hearing from a lot of constituents, and it would be great if you can resend the letters out and get it straightened out.
Well,
at this time.
Your constituents are ours as well. So we're we have to be fair to these, to everyone. So
And to comment with Mr. Hanson, a lot of the confusion came today was because the county had originally recommended that we correct this next year, and that's what caused a lot of the confusion. So I spoke with Supervisor Haas, I know some of you did, and we said, take care of it, we'll do it this way. But that's where the original thing at, because the county had advised us of 3 options and then told us, this is what we think you should do, what they think we should do, and what we need to do are 2 different things. So that's where a lot of this confusion came from.
Right.
well, thank you. Any other comment for our consent agenda? Great. Can we get a motion to accept our consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion.
I just have 2 very quick questions. On 601, the rates for the substitute bus driver, is that different from what's currently in place?
Now, this is the same motion we approved last year.
Same, okay, got it, all right. So just one of those things you have to do.
What is monitor? Is that somebody who rides on the bus as a monitor?
Monitor some of our runs, especially some of our special education
Okay.
runs.
I just didn't
Required
know.
to have a monitor on the bus.
Okay, I just didn't know that that was a school bus driver type of monitor.
And then just briefly on 702, there's a change to the school building safety, which looks like all we're doing is removing the review and approve all annual building inspections. That's the only change. Is there a backstory for that?
No, this one actually, without researching it too heavily, I believe came right down from this one.
Okay.
Part of the policy service, as things are changed in the legislature, things that are required or aren't required, they'll send us these 1 or 2 line things, and that looks like this is one of those.
It appeared to be a cost-saving policy.
Yeah, it seems like it would.
Yeah.
All right.
Anything else?
No?
And 603, Joseph Mellon, that's somebody we've had before.
Joe Moran?
That's a correction on last month. It was,
Oh, okay.
the salary was incorrect last month. So we had
So this is just, okay, I wondered about that, okay.
Yeah, but he's been our claims order committee for a long
That's-
time. Yeah, sure.
I thought so, okay.
And let's also, take a second, since we're in the neighborhood, to recognize Mrs. Druitt, who's here, who is our soon-to-be appointed cross-country.
And we're at just appointing her to keep an eye on us.
We appreciate that. No, not keeping an eye on her.
No, I'm serious. Lisa Marie knows.
And-
Somebody's got to watch it.
No, I didn't see. Any other discussion, questions, comments, concerns? Then let's vote. Brian?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
Amador? Yes. And I'll say yes. That takes us to old business. Old business. So we unsuccessfully tried to have a workshop in the summertime, which I should have known, well, been since the springtime, I want to, if my memory serves. And so you folks, I promised I would put this on the agenda. You folks were supposed to come prepared with dates, less our retiree, scurries around the planet. Yes, okay, so, some available dates for a workshop. Oh, for Pete's sake.
What? Seriously, you can't like heck out the whole year.
You don't have to open?
Well, can we start with September? I mean, how about October? Yes?
Are we thinking about a weekend or an evening, the daytime, or a weekday?
I think if we carved out, an afternoon on a Saturday, or, that would be great. No? Carol, you just winced, haven't you? Every day's Saturday for you. What's the matter?
Fine. My Saturdays are busier than my weekdays.
And my mornings are.
Am I missing something here? What's that?
I'm not saying.
I would like to do October though.
Okay.
But if you do it on a Saturday, Sunday, you'll have to have someone come in on that.
So there.
You want to do it?
You're not.
I gotta make sure that there's not everything else if it's,
See where I start.
Hey Doug, I think if the goal is to have ample time to have like the whole discussion,
Yes.
Saturday is a good idea. But maybe it would be better off if we did an evening on a weekday, and then if we need to follow it up, if it gives us time to think about some of the things we discussed, we follow up with another 2-hour session or something.
What time do you get out? What time do you get out?
Fine.
So how about the last week of September?
The last week of September.
26, 27, 28, 29, 30.
Oh, that's not really not. The whole week.
You're retired too.
Sorry.
These people. All right. First week of October?
Yeah, really no deal.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Anybody?
Where's Rosh Hashanah?
Let's go to the, let's go down to that second week of October, second full, 10 through 14. Anything good?
Columbus Day?
Yeah, that's Columbus Day's the 10th.
My birthday's the 11th.
Your
It's not on your birthday. Well, you gotta bring a cake.
Okay,
My Carol's birthday.
you don't scare me.
I should be scaring you. How about 12 or, the 13th is our board meeting.
The 13th is our meeting, correct? So unless, no, that's not good.
Two nights in a row?
No, I'm good with the 12th.
The 12th is okay with me.
Linda?
What
Yes?
time is
Brian?
it?
I'm cool.
Yeah.
For time.
Wednesday.
How, I'm good, can you make?
I'm asking you that one second. Up here, second.
It's not that, it's what's going on that day, but I don't know.
I see.
Saturdays are really bad for me.
Yeah. 4 to 7?
Saturdays are really bad.
No, but let's try to have a couple hours to, because we have a lot of things that we promised ourselves we would get going.
We go for 4 o'clock?
I'm good with,
Well, it's possible, it's
5?
five is definitely.
Let's do 5.
so we could start at
He doesn't get out.
4, and Amador join us if he makes it at 4, great, right?
Yeah, put it on.
I think,
Are you okay with that?
yeah, I don't know, I think it would be better if we had all 5.
I do too.
So, I
We
mean,
start at 6.
I don't think we need to try to accomplish the entire thing all in one setting.
Nor
So I
do
think
I.
we'll start at 5 and we get,
Okay.
wrap up around 7. If we have to follow up, that might be helpful to take some of the conversation away.
Okay.
and think about it a little
But
bit.
you're gonna just get home to 6.
No, I'll go early.
All right, so yeah, fine.
October 12th, 5 PM. Yes?
Yes.
I'm good with that.
Thank you, Doug.
I'm going to stay.
October 12th, 5 p.m.
12, on the 12th.
ECS, VOA,
Here, right?
sure. Here. Do you know what building you'll be in that day?
Are you joining us?
Am I?
I would like to.
No, I would appreciate it.
If you don't want me, then that's okay too.
Yeah, I
Well,
would think so.
but, 5 to 18 now. Okay. 10, 12. Okay. Okay, any other discussion here with this?
Should we leave before?
Oh, we can,
We'll work
we
something.
can,
I'll have pizza or
we can
something.
get pizza and send it.
Either way, I'll.
All right. Done. Well done.
Great. Thank you. Okay,
5 to 8.
8:02 is the.
5 to 8.
Yeah, 5 to 8 p.m. All right, we good? So then we're gonna move on to the 8:02, the old business recess policy
We don't need to vote on that, do we?
on the,
The workshop?
no.
Okay, so this was on Mr. Ford's report. Mr. Ford, you said this in like, 4 sentences. I probably could have summarized it better than I did. So unfortunately, I have a little bit more. It's not as comprehensive as the report from the Recess Policy Subcommittee that I delivered and we discussed last month. I tried to take the most relevant parts of that and condense it into policy language. I pulled some verbiage from other boards of education around New York State and also around the country, and pulled them in here where I could, just to make sure that the terminology was clear without being overly burdensome or complicated. So I emailed it out to you guys earlier, and I thought the best way to do this, to make sure that we all understand exactly what's going on with the policy, and also to make sure that the public has an opportunity to hear it at least twice, to give them an opportunity to weigh in as well, that we just read through it. Again, it's not that long, it's not going to take a lot of time, but I'd like to kind of read the changes, which are indicated by green, which are additions to the current policy, and red, which are deletions from the current policy. The rest of it stays the same. And then we would vote on it, which would give the public an opportunity to respond to the first reading and public comment tonight. And then for those who aren't here to hear the discussion, to view the video recording, they'll have an opportunity to come in next month to participate during the public comment under consent agenda, where this will be a second reading, and we'll get maximum participation if anybody has any questions or concerns. So there are 2 documents here. One is the policy and one is the regulation. So of course the policy defines the overall goals that we're trying to accomplish in terms of changes to the wellness policy. And then the regulation actually spells out not the way that it's specifically administered, but some of the high-level expectations on how the administration will.
I read it, honest.
Okay, all right, that's cool, then. Thank you. You have any questions, or? Yeah.
That starts to 5405.
I noticed it's a little bit mixed up in the packet, so just so we're clear, the 5405 wellness policy on nutrition and physical activity, where the preamble is the next line?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the first page.
Oh, that's the policy.
So that's the policy. So again, really what this does is it defines our philosophy and goals with regards to what's in our wellness policy. There's a lot of stuff there already about nutrition and health, and what we're adding here mostly has to do with the benefits of recess that we discussed in the Recess Policy Subcommittee report, and then we can go into the actual regulation. So do you have the page that begins 5405 Wellness Policy on Nutrition and Physical Activity with the preamble?
Yeah.
Okay. So you'll see that there are 3 sections to be added right in a row, and I'll just read through these. Current research has described the unique physical, cognitive, and social benefits of supervised unstructured recess. According to a 2013 policy statement from the American Academy of Pediatrics entitled The Crucial Role of Recess in School, recess, defined by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention as, quote, regularly scheduled periods within the elementary school day for unstructured physical activity and play, unquote, provides crucial benefits that more structured physical education cannot. The second bullet point that we'll be adding is, while physical activity and play offset childhood obesity and illness, the benefits of recess extend beyond physical wellness. According to the AAP, that's the American Academy of Pediatrics, recess, quote, promotes not only physical health and social development, but also cognitive performance, unquote. And the third bullet point under the preamble is, children learn best when they take breaks after a period of concentrated study. Recess has been shown in studies to improve cognition, making students more attentive and productive. The unstructured nature of recess gives children opportunities to develop social skills, learning how to communicate and share with their peers. Then there's a number of goals that are defined in here. We're not modifying most of this, but if you look at the second page, letter G is an additional goal. The Eldred Central School District embraces the crucial benefits of recess as described by the AAP and will allot ample time and resources to ensure all elementary students enjoy the physical, cognitive, and social benefits provided by supervised unstructured recess. Okay? So those are the proposed changes to the wellness policy. So the next is 5405-R, which is the wellness regulation on nutrition and physical activity. And if it's mixed up, it's actually ordered by letter. So if you're looking at the page that has 5405-R at the top, you'll see strategies for achieving our wellness policy, which is underlined. You guys have that?
Yeah.
And then you see A, B. There are no changes to that page. Okay? I'm going to go out of order a little bit. I failed to mention that all of the language that is included with regards to recess policy comes directly from the report that we discussed last week, which was delivered on behalf of the recess policy subcommittee. There are some additional changes in here that had come from an earlier meeting of the full wellness committee, and they're related to the policy regarding the special events, birthday parties, and celebrations where we have banned cupcakes and games. Okay, so I'm going to skip over that because it's more straightforward, and we'll just go straight to the recess for now. We'll come back. So there are no changes on the page that begins with number 5 that relate to recess. Okay, you'll see a page that has a bunch of green with highlighted yellow, where it says mandatory minimum recess. Looks like this, a whole bunch of yellow. There we go. Okay. All right, so these are the defined changes to the wellness policy specifically regarding recess. Okay, I'll read through this. Number 3 is mandatory minimum recess. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, quote, a growing body of evidence suggests that recess promotes not only physical health and social development, but also cognitive performance, unquote. Accordingly, the first bullet point, all elementary, parentheses, pre-K through 6th grade students shall have at least 30 minutes of supervised unstructured recess per day. While this is the minimum allowable daily recess time, teachers are encouraged to extend additional time if they feel it would benefit their students physically or cognitively. Second bullet point. For purposes of this policy, recess is defined as, quote, regularly scheduled periods within the elementary school day for unstructured physical activity and play, which comes from the CDC, unquote. Recess should not be confused with organized, adult-directed activities or physical education. Recess is a dedicated time during which children may interact freely with one another in an unstructured manner. During recess, each child may choose to engage in sedentary, physical, creative, social, I have sedentary here twice, so I'll just write that first, sedentary. Each child may choose to engage in physical, creative, social, and or sedentary pursuits. While recess should certainly be supervised by adults, it should not be led, instructed, or otherwise directed by adults. Third bullet point. Recess may not be denied, shortened, postponed, or otherwise restricted for any reason, including discipline or academics. Recess time may not be used to make up lessons or class work. Recess is a fundamental part of every school day, as essential as any academic subject. Fourth bullet point. To maximize its benefits, recess should be scheduled at regular intervals during each daily classroom schedule. Recess intervals should be spaced to allow for necessary interruptions and concentrated academic concepts. So I'm sorry for the errors here. In concentrated academic work. Whether a teacher allocates the mandatory minimum 30 minutes of recess or additional recess time, multiple 10 to 15-minute breaks are preferable to a 30-minute block, as compelling research indicates that optimal cognitive processing and academic performance require regular breaks from concentrated classroom work. And the final bullet point, whenever possible, at least one daily recess interval should be scheduled before lunch. This is a practice recommended by the CDC and the Department of Agriculture, as it has been shown to promote better nutrition and less food waste at mealtime and improve student behavior on the playground, in the lunchroom, and in the classroom. And finally, there are citations included here with hyperlinks to the studies and research articles that we reviewed last month, which include the policy statement from the American Academy of Pediatrics. And then there's a piece called A Research-Based Case for Recess, which is really a summary of all of the most current peer-reviewed scientific evidence supporting the benefits of play and recess, and then a Scholarpedia article which has a little bit more information on the specific studies that all comprise that policy recommendation. So those are the changes with regards to recess, and I'd just like to go back and hit on the recommendations of the full Wellness Committee, which would strike some of the language around overregulation of celebratory events. So on the page that begins with number 5, qualifications of school food service staff, there is a deletion on letter C, which, so I'll just read the sentence and I'll tell you what the deletion is. There's a clause that says monitor food and beverages sold individually, parentheses, sold outside of reimbursable school meals, i.e. vending machines, fundraisers, etc. And the recommendation is to remove that from fundraisers, as fundraisers should be exempt from the regulations on nutrition. Okay.
Are we deleting fundraisers, et cetera, or just fundraisers?
I think the only thing under
machines,
IE
et cetera?
Yeah, I guess we could do. Leave
I mean, I don't know. You know, monitor food and beverages sold individually. There's a lot of clubs that sell, you know, special things. Are we monitoring that or not monitoring?
Do we have to monitor?
Kind of.
Okay, so should we, it's not spelled out in here, I guess you should just
We
say.
encourage our clubs not to, you know, there'll be Krispy Kreme fundraisers. We don't allow them to distribute it during the day. We don't allow them to eat it during the day. They will deliver it after hours. It usually comes in through the business entrance. People go on their way out the door and take it. So that's kind of how we monitor it. We try to discourage the selling of candy bars and that type of stuff, especially during the school day.
So we're not really going to monitor it though to that degree. So we should take out the et cetera.
Fine with me.
So strike fundraisers and et cetera. Yep. And then on the bottom of the page, under fundraising activities, there's a clause that we recommend deleting the entire clause, and here's how it goes. It says fundraising activities. To support children's health and school nutrition education efforts, school fundraising activities may involve foods that meet the above portion size standards for foods and beverages sold individually. Smaller portions are recommended. Guidelines for portion size will be provided by the school district. By the way, the portions that they're referring to are what federal guidelines on school nutrition. So the recommendation is that fundraisers do not overly burden the clubs that are fundraising, but be removed from that regulation. And on the next page that begins with letter E, snacks, there's a sentence that says schools will assess if and when to offer snacks based on timing of school meals, children's nutritional needs, children's ages, and other considerations. Recommendation is to change schools to teachers so that it's not like some policy that's imposed upon the teachers. They can make individual decisions based on their And there's a sentence that says district will disseminate a list of healthful snack items to teachers, after-school program personnel, and parents. I don't know, are we already doing that? Because if we're not.
Okay.
Not by school.
So I think that's another one of those burdensome sentences. So,
Teachers should be.
yes, teachers should make the decision. Okay, so we'll strike that. And then finally, under G, there's a full clause that talks about celebrations, and it's a program that's described that I don't think we've ever done. So here's how this goes. Celebrations. To support parents in celebrations, the school cafeteria will provide a new service for parents. For a charge, parents will be able to order certain kinds of baked goods from the cafeteria for classroom celebrations. These celebrations must be coordinated with the cafeteria manager and the school principal. Prices will vary depending on the type of food ordered and quantity. The district will disseminate a list of healthy party ideas to parents and teachers. So I was back and forth a few times with Mr. DeFore on the appropriate language for this to make sure that the clause that we have, that I had pulled from various sources from other districts, is appropriate and compliant. So I'll just read to you what the recommendation is here. This is the new language. Food, and we would strike that entire passage and replace it with this. Food and beverages that are served during periodic special occasions or celebrations, i.e. holiday parties, birthday parties, etc., are not governed by this policy and are not subject to the specific regulations herein. Because of the risks associated with severe food allergies, the school can only accept unopened, commercially packaged foods and beverages. Each item must be in its original container with its nutrition label intact. Homemade food is not permitted. And finally, there's one more change related to,
Communication with parents.
yes, communication with parents. Number 2, in the middle of a page that begins with facilities also should be available. You see it, yep, everybody?
Yeah.
I've read it, but not, they're different.
So there's a clause that talks about communicating with parents, and we're recommending we strike the following. Parents are encouraged to pack healthy lunches and snacks and to refrain from including beverages and foods that do not meet above nutrition standards for individual foods and beverages. The Eldred Central School District will provide parents a list of foods that meet the district's snack standards and ideas for healthy celebrations / parties, rewards, and fundraising activities. Okay? So those are the changes that are proposed in this policy. And I would ask for, any questions or discussion, and then also I'd ask for guidance on the appropriate way to move forward, whether this should serve as the first reading or whether it should serve as an introduction for a policy to be introduced for a first reading next month.
Okay. No matter how I say this, it's not going to come out right, because I've even tried to think of how to say this. I understand, you can see where you guys have done an incredible amount of work. I understand that. Again, this is not going to know. I just feel that for a board policy, you've got 8 pages. And I think we could cut it down. I think it should be more to the point. I think there's a lot of, I don't know how to do that, but like, for instance, your research stuff that you got from year and year and year. I just think we could say this in 1 page. And that's my opinion.
Are you concerned about any of the content or the specific?
It's just very verbal, Brian.
Yeah, no, I understand. I guess the reason why it is so verbose is, first of all, that's the way that I'm detail-oriented, and I always screw up like this. I always use too many words, and I believe it or not, I tried to cut this down to the best of my abilities, okay? That's a weakness of mine. However, there's also a benefit in providing context around this, because some of these concepts are run entirely counter to some of the direction that we've been provided by state policy and federal policy over the years. And if you read through the literature that expounds on the benefits of play and recess, it all starts with a significant preamble about the damage that can be done if you overvalue academic rigor versus play at an early age. And so I thought it's helpful to support our policy to kind of spell all that out.
Well, then you could say that.
Yeah.
Well, there we go.
I can't. You might be able to. I can't. So, like I said,
I don't have any issues with what has been said here, or with these changes to the policy. I think it can probably be pared down. It is verbose.
well, in practical application, just so you know, in Mr. DeFore's report, like I said, if you read it, it's very concise, and he's already implemented this. So, I think that really what our policies do is they inform our administration about our goals, and so he's heard that and it's already happened. So I think it's probably going to get filed away, so it doesn't really matter how many words there are.
Well, no, it goes to the board.
Right, but it's there, but it has everything that's needed, and it's already been interpreted in a way that I think works very well for our teachers and for our students.
So if I could just understand the 5405 wellness policy is 2 things.
Right.
And it's what was adopted in 2006. And you're adding the yellow sections.
Yeah, right.
So if I look at these sections,
Yes.
are you saying we cut these down? Into one paragraph?
So for all of our policies that are all accompanied by regulations, the policy is significantly shorter than the regulation, for the most part, because the regulation actually spells out the specific items that you want to administer. The policy really is aspirational goals or broad direction. And so in that context, I think that it's important to have all of the justification for why we're making such a significant progressive change. In the regulation, you want to make sure you include everything that's actually going to be implemented in practicality in administration, right? And so there's probably a way to pare that down, but I've been back and forth, with Mr. DeFore, and kind of, with Source and with sources trying to get this thing cut down. And there's nothing more that I think I can cut that's not important to state.
Well, could we work on it? Could we look at it for a month? And see if we can find.
I mean, I like having it in the regulation,
Yeah.
but if I read the other items on the policy, I think they're more to the point.
I got you. Yeah, by the way, there's no urgency to this because, like I said, the important aspects of this policy are already in place in Mackenzie. And so it's something that we can certainly take our time. And I think the more deliberation, the more input we have from the board and from the public would benefit our policy. So, yeah, why don't we take
So
it for a month and sit?
why don't we let this serve as an introduction?
Yeah.
And we'll ask for some feedback from.
Could we all take time though seriously and read it? and
Sure,
see what
yeah,
we
I'm
can put
happy
down?
to do that.
My only concerns, and Brian has addressed most of them, we have gone from 3 sentences to quite a few paragraphs. Okay, and we've had that.
About
discussion.
recess.
Right. so,
Yes, because of
it's
the
a-
major change.
Well, and
It's
that's what I'm
a,
saying.
it's
So-
a very large change. That being said, I like brevity. 2 and 3, you saw my report, I condensed it into 3 sentences. But he has addressed my concern over language issues. Okay? So what you see is acceptable as far as practicality because we've been going back, amongst other things, for the past 3 days on language. And Brian has addressed all of the concerns I've raised to make sure it doesn't conflict with other things we're doing, other things we've implemented. So I think it should be a lot shorter, but if it goes in its current state, I can live with it because it addresses the concerns
So
that I
you
have.
have no problems with any of the content? I
No,
have no problems with any of it.
I think it's verbose, but I have no
That's not
problem with the
content,
content.
right.
Yeah.
No, everything that I write is going to be overly verbose, so I'm going to work on that, that's a development opportunity. But I would say that one of the reasons why it is so verbose is because I feel compelled to explain some of this, because like I said, it runs so counter to what, it's kind of like we did with our resolution. It's so different from what we're being told to do and what we know is not in the best interest of our children, that I think, and some of it's counterintuitive too. Like for example, that, free playtime would actually benefit children cognitively versus actually just working more on academics. So some of it I think needs to be explained. Now, if you read the source information from the American Academy of Pediatrics and all the scientific research, these are many hundreds of pages, and so this is a condensed version of that, but only because I feel like it needs to be explained so people understand.
The only concern I have with citing research and being involved in my own doctorate, I'm becoming a rather expert on citing research, is it quickly goes out of date. And 1 week coffee is good for you, the next week it's not good for you. So that's something that needs to be taken into consideration because the minute something you cite is contradicted by a new study, it kind of invalidates what you've already said. Whereas if you just say, this is what we want, 30 minutes of recess, intervals throughout the day, before lunch, that's what you get, that's your policy. That's what the board is requiring. But I understand citing the research to support it, but if that research becomes outdated tomorrow, it kind of invalidates your intent. And your intent is not to change that. That's something the board wants.
Understood.
So that's something to take into consideration as well.
Although I should say that, if the research contradicts the policy direction that we're taking here, we would want to shift the policy direction and cite resources. I just think for purposes of this, if somebody wants to know, like, what the heck are we doing? This is very progressive, okay? I mean, there have been boards of education who've done this and spelled it out, but not that many. So if somebody wanted to know, what are they up to? They could read the American Academy of Pediatrics policy position or the other summary of research, and it's crystal clear there with additional citations. So that's why it's cited in the policy, if that makes sense. But as always, I think taking additional time to allow for more input on this is fantastic.
I would like to hold it, invite you to
Okay.
also.
Yeah. Absolutely, Linda. I'd say, though, that, if there's going to be a discussion or a question around the fundamental concepts of this, understand that a lot of work has been done by
I
the
do, I
Recess
know.
Policy Subcommittee, including members of the community.
I
and
can see
faculty.
that.
Yeah.
I told you, it's not coming out right, whatever.
No, I understand what you're saying. I totally understand.
You
So-
don't have a fundamental problem with its intent, correct?
Absolutely.
I'm already doing it.
Yeah.
What?
Good.
So I hope not, I'm already doing it.
Yeah, right, yeah. So,
Okay,
okay, so why don't we put it on the
policies,
agenda for
that's
next
right.
month, maybe in a modified version as a first reading, okay? To officially vote on next month.
Okay.
If you have any questions, we'll catch up with Irene and we'll talk about it.
People are gonna talk.
Thank you.
Okay.
When we have a disagreement, we go for coffee, I mean, we've got about 14 classes.
No, it's good.
Oh, is it?
That's why I drank it.
Do we have any other old business? I know. Do we have any other old business, guys?
Just a question, I didn't get a chance to catch up. You mentioned solar, and then every time you mention that at the last meeting, I see these Solarized Sullivan signs everywhere, and I immediately think of you. So, are those the people you're talking to?
No,
Can they help?
I don't know.
The company that had just installed the array for custom is the company we're talking about. Okay, they were actually supposed to stop at CVS, because they went down to, I think, is it the Lumberland board meeting they were going to? But they've already submitted a proposal to us. We signed a letter of intent to get this proposal, and they're already doing the ground. So we are moving forward.
You know what's wrong with it? You get completely addicted at looking at how much energy you use.
But that's the cool thing, though. Like I said, when there was a vendor at the
It's unbelievable.
But they put some of these programs actually install a panel for the kids this year.
Yeah, they all do that. They
Yes,
put it in the
that's
lobby so that
fantastic.
the visitors can see it.
So
You do get addicted.
I just
It
said,
is.
You're
Unbelievable. Yeah, no, I am.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm
so
sorry.
how far are we going with this? I just said to Carol. I'm kidding. Mackenzie? Well, here's, here we got these for you.
Yeah, we're gonna
Okay. Because
meet companies.
ever since Mackenzie went up, and I drive by there at night with all those lights on, so my teeth go on edge. Because it's orange month.
Mackenzie's the building that this vendor is looking at.
Okay, good.
Okay, any other old business, folks? Okay. For new business, we have the motion that Ruth sent to us, and Andre's going to read for us.
I make a motion, whereas the 2016-17 tax warrant was created based on an inaccurate equalization rate for the town of Highland, resulting in the town of Highland being apportioned a higher tax dollar amount, resulting in an inflated rate per $1,000 of assessed value. The Board of Education seeks to correct the error by voting the tax warrant signed on August 11, 2016, approving the corrected 2016-17 tax warrant at its regularly scheduled meeting of September 8, 2016, and producing and mailing corrected tax bills for all taxable parcels located within the boundaries of the Elgin Central School District, based on the approved corrected 2016-17 tax warrant, and adjust the payment dates as listed on the corrected 2016-17 tax warrant. Have a second?
Your motion.
I made the motion.
Second.
The second. Okay, so the corrected dates, the first 30-day free period would be September 15 to October 14, 2016. The second 31 days with the 2% penalty added would be October 15 to November 14, 2016. So, just so that we read that into the motion, the dates that we're talking about. What's
Oh,
that?
that's on the warrant.
It's on the warrant. It
It's
doesn't
on
need
the
to be
warrant.
warrant.
So
Well, I
it
guess
says,
with the motion. You want that into the motion?
yeah,
do have a
the
copy of
motion
this as well.
says the dates as listed
Little
on
context on the warrant.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
The
on
warrant will be
text.
attached with the
The
motion.
dates are on the text.
okay.
Okay, so, we have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion?
So the first payment period is September 15th through October 14th, no penalty. The bills will hit the mailboxes on what day approximately? The 14th, okay, so it's full 30 days.
Okay? Any other questions?
And do we need to include in the motion that the letter will explain the process for those 37 folks getting a refund, or is that something that we just?
We don't need to put in a motion, but we have to put the letter in there, and it's going to go into whatever advertisement we put in.
And you can send this out to the supervisors tomorrow.
Oh, it's on
We already told
The
Sue.
press release is going
But
out
you're gonna say
tomorrow.
we did this.
Yeah, we told them we were doing.
I'm sure, Mr. Hanson will provide this information.
Well, I'll have to have the others for this.
Okay. So, any other questions? Listen, it's fair, it's the right thing
Yeah,
to do,
I
so,
agree.
in my opinion.
Guadalupe County one.
So let's vote on this thing. Brian?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, Carol?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
Amador?
Yes.
And I'll say yes. Our apologies for the problem. This is the best way that we can correct it.
Yeah.
So,
I have a new business, sir,
you have new business?
please.
Okay.
We'd like to propose,
Just 1 second, I
Yes, sir.
apologize. Before we leave, this must be signed,
That's it.
okay?
You guys are down.
Working on it right now. Okay, go ahead, Linda,
I
I'm
would like to
sorry.
propose September 28th is National, what used to be called Rally Round the Flag Day. It's now called See You at the Pole. There is a website, syatv.com, or you can type in see you at the pole.com. I would like to do this and maybe make it an annual event at the high school. I don't think necessary at the elementary, they don't really know. And the Bridgepoint clergy was asking this. The ones I talked to, I gotta be fair, I did not get a hold of everybody. We would be here at 7:15, probably, the last buses come in. What buses? The last buses come in and it'll probably start at 7:20.
The bus is 7:15, 7:30, so I would,
7:25. So.
So what time do they start?
I don't understand what you're asking.
By
You know, the old
7:18,
time
they're off
used
the
to get out
bus.
here and rally around the flagpole and join arms.
No. I'm wrong.
is your intent to have all the kids from the high school outside?
I did, now that's, I'm gonna ask you.
Because if that's what you want to do, I would say do it at 7:45 so they can go into their first period classes and all
That's
go out.
fine. Will you tell me?
Is-
And I'm asking, I don't know if that would need a permission slip from a parent. I don't know. Now, it doesn't
What's your-
say,
wait a minute.
in here, it doesn't say it does.
Yeah.
And not,
We're not
of
there.
course, you know, not everybody was gonna do it, I would like them to.
And what is it you want to do?
Joining hands around, and I would just say a short prayer for the this year's school year, for the students, the faculty, the administration, staff.
Are we allowed?
That would be it, yes.
We are.
Why are we allowed to do that?
It's
Don't they
a-
still do that in Winston?
I don't know.
Yeah, most of the schools do.
It's voluntary, it's voluntary.
One
That's why it's a-
All right, very good.
That's why it's-
Now, I don't think you need a permission slip, but I don't want a parent to say, oh my gosh, you know.
Scott, can you work with Linda?
Oh, you know what?
Schedule it for like 7:45 that morning, let them
I
take
would
it
rather
down.
have them do it when they come in, and they come into school, rather than coming into school and then going back outside.
And I would love to work with a student council, a couple of kids, I was young.
Yes.
I don't know if all the offices will be elected by that.
Well,
I'll be in touch.
remember,
Ones that are still here.
Work with Scott and he'll walk it
I will
out.
do that.
Okay?
Okay. Anything else, guys?
Does that need to be permission?
Linda, when is it?
September 28th is the national.
Are we gonna tell kids that you're gonna be saying a prayer? Because I don't want to offend any Jewish
fine.
kids or Muslim kids or.
Oh,
you know what I'm
no,
saying?
no,
Is
it'll
it
be
just a general,
Non-denominational.
the non-denominational
Absolutely.
prayer, so like, but we should, okay. I just don't want to, I don't want to surprise anybody
Absolutely.
in a way that would be
We all have one God.
public school on.
Okay.
What's the organization called, Linda?
See you at the pole, 216.
So SYATV.
SYATV.com.
216.
Well, that's what it's called, I mean.
Should we invite Colin Kaepernick?
Oh, oh boy.
Fly them in especially.
Any other new business? Good. Public comments. I know, you've all been waiting for it.
The recess policy that affects only the elementary school, correct?
Yes. It'd be very wonderful to work that into a high school schedule.
Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, even if it was only a 15-minute block.
You know, it actually came up, Mrs. Jennings, at last month's meeting. Actually, Mrs. Dearman, she's not back here anymore. But she mentioned that same exact question. And as I've gone through all the research, it all points to K through 6, and particularly it focuses on the younger ages. I haven't seen too much of a push for recess for older kids, and I understand logistically there are challenges too. So she mentioned it, it's interesting, and it's something that, you know, I'm at least going to look into a little bit and stuff, so, but it's not part of the policy.
Any other comments? Yes.
Appreciating what the subcommittee, because I know it was community members, faculty members, it was a whole bunch of people. But I would, as a faculty member, what would have been nice was some kind of survey, perhaps asking what we do
Already,
before
voluntarily.
making a blanket statement saying, we have systematically taken recess away from kids.
I don't,
Because-
was that in the policy with the report?
No, but that was
Systematically taken away?
one of the sentences at the last meeting that I was at when you initially read it. And it wasn't us, but it came off as us. And I understand what you're saying. You're saying Florida took away recess. Florida.
Apologies
Yeah,
for that. I mean
but-
to say that the corporate reform movement has overemphasized academic rigor at the expense of proven concepts like play and recess. I didn't mean to suggest that our faculty associations, I'll clarify that. Nobody in our school is being accused of taking away recess.
No, but what I'm asking is, if you go and you have a committee and you form a committee, instead of saying we need to make changes, ask us what we do first.
Well, we did have faculty representation, and they contributed, and it was very helpful. Mrs. Van Haeg, Mrs. Fine, Mrs. Trotta, and Mrs. Yenny, and Ms. G were all involved in that, and they contributed extensively to the discussion. They talked about the evolution of our recess scheduling over time and the benefits and some of the drawbacks of the proposed changes. So we included faculty members and community members, and it was a consensus view. In fact, we went through as we compiled all this stuff to say, do we all in agreement with each of these points? So we did have broad consensus. Now, I'm hoping that the faculty representatives on the subcommittee reached out to the larger faculty to find out what was going on. But I don't know if that happened.
I wasn't in it, as you said.
Yeah.
The thing is, it could be simply done with a Google form, sending it out to us and asking us what we do. I understand that you had representatives on there, but when I'm being told that I have to give the 30 minutes of recess, when I already gave a morning recess after math and to my other subjects, and then an afternoon recess, as was slotted for supervision purposes, I personally were insulted. Because as professionals, and this comes up when we want it to and when we don't want it to, we are professionals trained in child development, and there are a lot of people in the building that did give breaks or know how to teach through play and other fun ways of doing it. So at the risk, and I understand, I truly do understand what you're trying to do, but I just think that Eldred is a unique system where if I said to Miss Keegan, my kids were squirrely today, do you mind if I take them down to Circle Park? She was fine with that. Mr. DeFore would look out his window when I was playing in the snow with a group of kids that were properly dressed, because I said, if you bring your snow stuff in, I'll watch you outside. But he said, are you crazy? You know, the thing is that there were people who were doing this first. And I think sometimes when you deem a policy, when you construct a policy and saying it's all new, and there were people already doing it, those of us who were already doing it, well, I know I got offended. Because I know the kids, and I know how to give them the breaks. And, you know, we were told you really shouldn't be playing, you know, it should be unstructured. Well, the kids in 5th grade do their own kickball game. You know, we're there to referee if there's an issue. They're running around the field playing some kind of weird infection game that's left over from 4th grade. But, you know, it's always been unstructured. We don't sit there and have them do calisthenics. You know, and I think sometimes asking us what we do before you make these changes would go a long way in fostering that the trust that the board has, or if you don't have, and as I have said many, many occasions, anybody is welcome to come into my room to see what we do. You know, and it would have been nice to be asked as a whole faculty instead of just select people, what do we do? And then you could look at your numbers and say, well, you know, 75% of you are doing a morning and afternoon recess, and this is awesome. What can we do to support the people who aren't? That's all.
Thank you.
Well, just personally, never, you know, we're not here to judge, you know, that, and, you know, as Brian indicated before, you know, we sort of felt like this was a little more progressive, and you're right, I have no idea, you know, what you do. I mean, I know what you do, but, you know, I don't know how you handle, you know. Yeah, and that was yesterday.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Do you understand my point? I'm not, you know,
Absolutely do.
it's just.
And so this needs to come off as you know, an apology that never was any of us here to offend any one of you. You know, we you know, I've said it 100 times. You know, I love what you guys do. You know, I think we have the best staff, you know, around in the county. You know, I match our folks with, you know, with any of the people that I work with any day, you know. So never was any of this to come off offensive or you know, hurtful to anyone. So please.
And policies never designed to be no, judgmental. Like, well, you should be doing this. That's why we put it in the policy. It's now we're saying it in a lot more words because we think it's so important. You know, because it is so forward-seeking. The fact that so many of you were already and are already doing that kind of thing just speaks to the quality of the staff. But the policy still had to be stated. We could have found out more, but probably with that many teachers, you thought you were getting represented. So we hear you, but please don't take it personally because, you know, I know.
I'm just saying moving forward. Look,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
it's not
Absolutely.
moving back.
Fair enough.
Moving forward, when we say we have a big change to make, ask us what we do from.
So just, there was the intent of asking for faculty representation. I didn't select the faculty representative. It's not my responsibility as a board member to pick who would be on there. That was selected by administration. So I thought that, you know, including that number of teachers with that number of community members would have been a good discussion. Actually resulted in a very good discussion. But you are absolutely right about Eldred being a special place and being a small school with stuff like this already precedes some of the better ideas that take a lot of people a longer time to come to. I mean, there have been tremendous fights. The Seattle School District been through a almost nearly year-long fight about moving from 15 minutes to 20 minutes, and it was just an uproar. So here, what happened was, as soon as Mr. DeFore became aware of the content of our discussions that we were having as a subcommittee, he already took steps to kind of make sure that on day one, knowing that the policy would take time to follow, that things were already in place in cases where they weren't. So you're totally right on that. And that wasn't the intent. So if I said something about the pressures that are coming from corporate reformers or education reformers that are pushing us away from recess, what I'm talking about is the bigger picture, because that's going to continue to happen. So what I'm trying to do as a local school board member is to protect our children and our teachers from pressures that aren't good for Eldred, and policy is one of the places where you're empowered to do that as a local school board. So again, apologies for any misconfusion, or any confusion. I didn't mean to suggest that at all. And your point's taken about future committees. If I ever sign up for something like this again, I'll be more careful about the way that it's done. Okay?
Mr. Hanson.
Okay, once again, I want to thank you, and I just wanted to mention that I'm part of with the constable committee for the town, and we've hired 2 new constables, and from hearing your discussion on drugs, we've had some unfortunate incidents in town where some of the kids that went to this school have OD'd on heroin. It's becoming an epidemic in all towns. So if you see any vehicles around that are from Jersey or from other places that shouldn't be here, try and get that information. You can tell the town clerk, get it to them, and we'll try and follow up on it. And there's also the information that the constables get. They work with the state police and the sheriff's department, so hopefully we can make a dent in it. The other thing I wanted to mention, I write a lot of regulations for the government, and Brian, when I don't know if this is helpful to you or not, but I just figured I'd throw it out there. You have a rule or regulation or, recess, and you've got 1 or 2 lines that says, we will provide recess for our children in this school and this school. And then what we have is a compliance manual where we tell the inspectors, or say teachers, 15 or 20 pages of what ifs, when do you enforce this, or when do you use this?
15 to 20
That's not words. So that's not really the regulation, that's just how you use it.
Right.
At the end of it, it says it's up to the inspector's discretion or the teacher's discretion.
Gotcha.
How they, but it just gives you a bunch of, for new teachers
Yeah.
and obviously teachers that have been here for a while really don't need a lot of guidance.
Right.
But, that might be helpful to you. I don't know.
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, then, is there any other business we have to attend to?
There might have been one. Was somebody else?
Did you have your hand up before? I did at one point, but Brian kind of said it.
Oh.
But all that I was going to say is that as part of the committee, the majority of the discussion was really about all of those positive things that were already done. And then just about the research that supports more. And I think at one point we had even said, talks not just about what the teachers did, but about the support that's given by Mrs. Keegan and Mr. DeFore, and just the idea that this really supports that when you retire at some point, or if, God forbid, Mrs. Keegan would leave, or Mr. DeFore would leave, that still is insured for the people that are here. So, but really, the discussion between everybody was fantastic. It really, really was. And it was so positive, so.
You might not have been here last month, we passed a resolution that no one else can retire.
Okay. Well, that's good. I did watch the video, but I guess I skipped that part, so, good.
And thank you for participating on the subcommittee. It was a lot of reading.
Yes. Yes, that's right.
Okay, so if that's all, then we just need a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Motion. Any discussion? Brian? Carol? Yes. Linda? Mama Dora? Jana said night. Good night.
Too long-winded.
I gotta touch her.
It just took a bottle out of my mouth. Thank you very much. And I threw it in my car this morning. Another bottle. I take that one out of my pocket. I just flick it over my shoulder. I so glad to see that. I know. And I'm trying to get it going away. It was going away. I just so bad. I couldn't look at that. I was
Like 7:17. So, my freaking phone is ringing. Good night. I'm like, oh shit,
Mr. DeFore?
Ignore it.